Welcome back. I'm Jack Bradley. President Trump tonight issued an executive order to slash reciprocal tariffs on dozens of food items, including coffee, beef, and bananas. Will this be enough to ease the cost of living strain on many Americans that they've been facing? Joining us now to discuss is former senior advisor to former Vice President Kamala Harris, Mike Nellis, and economist and Republican strategist John Jordan. Thank you both very much for joining us here today. Now, Mike, let's start with you. What do you make of this move to address affordability and the cost of living for Americans?
Yeah, well, it's a complete reversal of everything that Donald Trump has said in this last year. He said that there is no inflation, that grocery prices are cheaper. He's also promised the American people that tariffs are not going to be something that increases the cost. How many times have we heard him talk about how other companies and other countries are going to pay the tariffs when we all know that tariffs are basically a tax on everything? So now that they lose an election, he's going to roll back some of the tariffs, and that might make a difference on beef prices. It might make a difference on some of these other items like bananas, but he doesn't have a full comprehensive plan to make things less expensive for the American people. And keep in mind, when he got reelected last year, he promised that on day one, everything would get less expensive. He said he had a plan, and he clearly doesn't. He also just doesn't care, I don't think.
John, your reaction, does this signal that the Trump administration is trying to lessen the short-term pain of tariffs?
Yeah, so talking points, leftist political talking points are fine, but real world economics are a little more involved. President Trump has been bringing down cost average Americans by bringing down energy costs, first of all, because oil prices, that gives into making steel, aluminum, plastics, everything, as well as food costs. As for tariffs, though tariffs are an unfortunate tool that are necessary to coerce other countries to open up markets to American goods, to employ Americans, to grow American businesses. We've been overspending, and inflation isn't just tariff driven. Inflation is technically what it is the debasement of currency. Too many dollars chasing too few goods. And over the Biden administration, that's what we had. And so weaning off of that is like coming off of a drug to some extent, and it's expensive. And President Trump realizes that, our trade relationships are complicated, unique to each country, and he has to have his fingers on various dials and levers to maximize our leverage for improving our trade relationships and reciprocal trade, and at the same time minimizing short-term costs to the American people. It's a complex undertaking, but our trade relationships have to be fixed, and unwinding the inflationary policies of the Biden administration is a process that's ongoing, and there's been real progress.
Can I
Mike,
jump in?
I want to go back to you on this same issue. Yeah, go ahead. And also, please respond to that.
Yeah, I want to respond to that because he just said that everything's getting cheaper. He just talked about how energy prices are less, but ask the average American about their electricity bill right now, and they're going to tell you that that's not the case. They want to blame this on Joe Biden. Donald Trump's been president for nearly a year now. He promised everything was going to get better on day one. We're almost a year in, and it certainly isn't. And he spent the better part of the last year trying to gaslight the American people into believing that their paycheck was going further, that it was easier to get a job when it's not. So I know that it's hard for Republicans to message on this, but I think instead of trying to throw a bunch of talking points back at people, maybe just acknowledge that people are hurting right now. This tariff war is not working. And I didn't interrupt you. I would ask that you didn't interrupt me. I want to make one final point because you talked about the inflationary policies of the Biden administration. I didn't hear anybody complaining from the Republican side when the Republicans decided to cut taxes for billionaires, and they claimed that was going to make the economy so much more stronger. And all they've done is made it harder for most Americans. So your taxes are higher. Meanwhile, wealthy people's taxes are lower.
Everybody's taxes
John, we have President Trump touring the country very soon to establish relations with people about affordability. That's the message ahead of the 2026 midterms. What's your idea going into that?
Well, President Trump is connecting with everyday American people. Unlike President Biden, he actually goes and deals with the press in an adversarial section and goes out and talks to people. That's what President Trump is. That's why he was successful. As for tax policy, there is no tax on tips. That is a big deal to a lot of working Americans, especially in states like Nevada, which has the biggest percentage of tipped workers in the country. No taxes on Social Security. These are meaningful. Make a meaningful difference for the American people. President Trump has only been president now for not even 10 months. And the results are getting better. Oil prices were $81 when he took office. They're now at about $60. That's real relief for Americans, not just paying at the pump, but in terms of reducing costs of plastic, steel, and all kinds of materials, as well as food, because oil price is the only truly inflationary or disinflationary commodity that there is. It's going to take a while to unwind the inflationary policies of Joe Biden because of the massive overspending, the massive free money from the Fed, the massive deficit spending that was happening is keeping interest rates high. It's a project to undo it. President Trump can't undo in 10 months what the Democrats took 4 years to do.
Okay. Now, I want to move on to the topic of immigration. We have Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy saying that California is the only state failing to enforce English language learning requirements for truck drivers. He's withholding $40 million to the state. Mike, this isn't a significant amount of money for the state by any means, but it's more of probably a messaging and a move. Will it have any desired impact, do you think?
Well, I think the Republicans want to just single out California, which is their favorite thing to do. I mean, it's the same tired talking points. We actually just heard it from my Republican counterpart here talking about no tax on tips again in the Republican budget. The no tax on tips is only for cash, which typically isn't reported anyway. It's temporary, whereas the tax cuts they made for wealthy people are permanent. And again, the vast majority of the things that the Republicans have been able to get done in this last year have actually made things dramatically worse on energy prices, on grocery prices, on the tariffs. And I know they want to trot out the same talking points, but my advice to the Republicans would be to spend less time going after their political opponents, less time muttered in the politics, and more time actually trying to deliver relief for the American people, because the vast majority of people are struggling right now.
John, could the Trump administration take similar action in other states, you think?
Possibly, right? So federal grants, that's why I said, listen to your question when I answer your question here. So federal grants to states are often they're passed by Congress, and it's actually a fairly complex statutory scheme. When in fact a state does not comply with federal statute, the federal statute providing for the grant or the legislation, the federal government is, depending on the statute, is oftentimes within its rights to withhold that funding. For example, consider way back in the day, not every state had a 21-year-old, age 21 drinking rule. Some states were 18, some were 21. And then the federal government conditioned highway funds in that case on every state raising the drinking age to 21. So there's precedent for this. We need truck drivers that can read, speak English, the English language, understand the mechanics and engineering behind trucks, and understand rules of the road. That is not a heavy lift because that's safety for everybody. So for the administration to be cracking down on those states that aren't enforcing those standards is entirely right. It's because it's making the roads safer for the American people. Keeping Americans safe is the number one responsibility of the federal government. And doing so in this case, this is a reasonable exercise of that power.
Mm-hmm. I want to move on now to our final topic here. Trump derangement syndrome, is it real? A psychotherapist on Fox said in a recent interview that it's actually an issue that many of his patients are bringing up to him. Let's take a look.
Some of the features of this disorder, they can't sleep, they feel traumatized by Mr. Trump, they feel restless. I had one patient who said she couldn't enjoy a vacation because anytime she saw Trump in the news or on her device, she felt triggered. So this is a profound pathology, and I would even go so far as to call it the defining pathology of our time.
John, is this a concern in your opinion?
Yeah, it is. This isn't good for our body politics. The left, and this goes back, when I say the left, this goes back to Soviet times. I'm a Sovietologist and speak Russian. Oftentimes what the left will do is demonize an individual, is attack the individual as being so bad, so beyond reproach, whether it's calling somebody a Russian spy, a racist, or a dictator, or a tyrant, that it gets people worked up to this level, which obviously isn't helpful from a mental health point of view, but it stifles debate. Because if you believe someone is so bad, then your ears and mind and heart are closed to any of the many complex policy discussions that are necessary to have a healthy political debate and discourse. But when somebody is driven to such madness and hatred of an individual, they're incapable of that. And that's and shame on the left and shame on many in the media for doing this.
Mike, your response, and how has the media contributed to this?
Yeah, well, I love the idea that this isn't something that the Republicans have done to just go after people with such nasty politics. I mean, Donald Trump's just such a nice guy. Why don't more people just accept that? I think that there are a lot of people in this country who have made politics their entire personality. I think they're watching it be shoved down their throats by algorithms and social media and cable news and everything else. And it's really unfortunate. And unless your life is directly impacted by something that's happening on a daily or weekly basis, you should be able to find a way to detach, enjoy your vacation, enjoy your friends and family. I have 2 parents that voted for Donald Trump 3 times. I have no problem going home and visiting them at Thanksgiving. I enjoy talking to my dad about politics. Now, it's easy for me to do because I have a good relationship with them. But again, I think a lot of people need to chill out unless your life is directly impacted by it. But look, let's be clear about this. This is not something that the left does. This is something that all divisive politicians do. And if you go back and look at some of the things that were said about Barack Obama, who is by far the most popular politician in the country right now, there were some brutal, disgusting, nasty, racist things that were said about Barack Obama by prominent American politicians, including Donald Trump. So let's just be clear about this. Like, everybody has a responsibility to try to be better at this, to use better rhetoric to bring people together. It's not something that's just the left or the right.
And John, I want to give you the final word here on as far as how we can bring people together when it comes to this issue. It seems like we're becoming more and more divided over this.
Well, first of all, the proof that it's not both sides is the fact that it's called in the intro to the question was it's the Trump derangement syndrome. It's the left that are suffering from this. We don't have
Obama derangement syndrome was a thing before that, but okay.
So it is called Trump derangement syndrome. But what's necessary is I think is incumbent on the media to depersonalize, take the names out of it, saying, hey, should we have a secure border? Let's talk about the issues without reference to personalities. Take the personalities out of it. Because, at the end of the day, it isn't about Donald Trump or Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Barack Obama. It is about the American people and which policies make the most sense, are going to be the best for all of us. And so it should be a policy-driven discussion, not a personality one.
John Jordan, Mike Nellis, thank you both very much for joining us today with your insights. Really appreciate it.